make sure that that's cut. And I'll tell you something.
Joined back in training last week and then started to feel my calf, which is a separate injury, so I've just got to be patient with the injury, mate. So I'm just icing the calf at the moment, but I should be good to go within a week or two.
Aye, because
it's a long time, eh?
It's been ages, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been since the start of November, so it's off work for 9 weeks, so it's just kind of trying to get everything going again, and moving again, but we're getting there.
Aye.
We're getting there.
Because it felt like it was shortly after that Peterhead game, wasn't it?
Yes, you know what it was? I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks afterwards. It was do you know what? I actually was carrying the injury during that game. But it wasn't as intense as maybe a couple of weeks after. I think the more I played, the more I made it worse. And then eventually against North End, it just completely broke down. So
yeah,
I'd went into work the next day and they clearly seen that I was struggling. And then 9 weeks later, I went back to work. So just before Christmas, tricky injury because my work's it's a manual job, So
pretty physical,
Yeah, I had to kind of look after myself in that sense. So I got a bit of time off, done a bit of rehab. I've got a good guy looking after us. He's at Dundee United, so he's been great.
Cool.
So I'm not far away, mate. Not far away.
I think I'll start with where you are now, and the fact that I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that you said you were at home when you signed for Lochee. So
yeah,
is that what you felt like when you joined? That was you where you wanted to be at the end?
Well, I've actually read that article the other day. I always keep a lookout for my stuff, and yeah, at home in terms of that's where I'm from. Mm-hmm. My house, when I was brought up, my house was like 100 yards away from Thomson Park. So it was a place that we used to play as kids. We used to jump the fence, go and kick the ball about. Probably get into trouble now when I go to training tomorrow, knowing that I'd done that as a kid. But some of the committee will probably still be at the club. So when I was a kid, but no, it was just a local club that we used to play a lot of our school cup finals there and our semi-finals, and it was a ground that I just kind of came across probably first in my life. In terms of a football, and being from the area, it was just a case of coming back back home to that area type thing. Yeah, that's kind of where that come from. Yeah.
Did Dougie have an influence? Because I was looking at your career and noticed that you'd been with him at Dundee, Peterhead, East Fife, and Ballingray. So like, obviously meeting up again at Lochee United would be.
Yeah, Dougie was an influence. Dougie's someone that I know well personally. I played with him for a long time. So he was an influence. There's another friend, Jonathan Smart. He's a coach. Jonathan's someone I've played with, and Dougie's played with as well. We've played with each other in a number of years. East Fife, Wraith Rovers. Although that was brief, I was on loan from Dundee. But Jonathan's someone that's a really good friend of mine, and he was kind of the decision as well, because I was looking at my own situation. I could have stayed at Arbroath beyond the 10 years, but I felt where we were at family-wise, I felt the right thing to do was to come home, and I couldn't commit as much at Arbroath, travelling and games, because you were away a lot. When you're part-time, you're working all week, and then you're away training.
And it's not a case of like you've got 6 other junior sides in the city of Dundee, whereas obviously Arbroath, you're going to Queen of the South, or you're going up to.
Like at Arbroath, you're in the lower leagues. You're constantly travelling for your away games, pretty much. So I think the support was great for me. I had a 23-year senior career, and I've had great support along the way. So it was kind of time to kind of look after everyone else and my partner going back to work. So we prepared for that. So that was the reason that I went into Lochee. Just a lot easier, 10 minutes up the road. So yeah.
But to go back to the beginning, Dundee, 2003, and the squad that they had there, like Novo, Caballero, Ravanelli, like, see, as a teenager, how daunting was that? Or did you thrive on the fact you got to train with some big names?
No, I think looking back now, I'm older and wiser. I think I feel at the time I just kind of took it in my stride. If I remember right, I think I could always remember the first day I was told that I was training with the first team. We used to train at Caird Park, and I was doing really well in the youths, and I was always playing above myself. I came out of school when I was 16 at Christmas time, and I went into Dens. And in the first 6 months to a year, we started to see like a lot of progress and myself, and I bypassed the 21s and went into the first team. And I can remember we were all kind of away to get ready to go out and train at Care Park, and we did, and we were in the warm-up, and Duffy had come over and says, look, you're over there today, pointed over at the first team. And I can remember going into a box, and I think Gavin Ray megged me in my first 10 seconds in the box, and that was set the tone. But playing with guys like Barry Smith and like Sir Ravanelli, Craig Burley, these guys were huge players in their own right, and big personalities, and they really did look after me, and it was great. It's one that, like, Dundee's a club that I'm fond of. I still have many memories from there. I scored a really important goal for them in their first game of administration against Hearts, one that my family watched on from the stands, and it's a night that I'll never forget, and I'm sure if the Dundee fans that could remember, it's certainly a night that they'll not forget.
Yeah, was that the cup game? Yeah.
It was the cup game against Hearts, yeah. What did help me as well was the club went into administration, so it kind of fast-tracked myself into getting into the first team and more game time, and I just felt Duffy showed a lot of faith in me as a youngster to put me into these sort of games, and that night was just incredible, and I can remember it so clearly as well. But there's a lot of memories from that time there. I can always remember being my first time in the squad was through at Hearts, and that was such an experience, going out to warm up and getting pelters from the crowd, and then coming on, making my debut against Partick Thistle. My first start was against Hibs, and I'm positive the team, when he led the team, I think it was Ravanelli, Novo and Linn. I could always remember the buzz. It was like, wow. Like, it's not until I look at it now and I look back at it and I think, wow, like Cesara, Caballero, these guys are on the bench, and you got to start, do you know what I mean? So I believe Dundee started that day as well. So just great memories. They had European or UEFA Cup games at the time of qualifiers. Did you travel with the squad to any of these? Or? Yeah, so I actually played a game against Kilmarnock. Stephen Naismith actually scored in that game. We played them at Downfield Juniors in Dundee, and they'd scored. I think it was 2-1. I saw 2-1 then, and I can remember coming back to Dens afterwards, and Duffy says, I got pulled in. Stevie Campbell says, you go and see the manager. So I went and saw him, and he says, look, go home, get your passport, pack a bag. You're going to Perugia tomorrow. And I was like, kind of, even looking back, I'm like, I think I was actually going to get the bus home from Dens to my house, and then I got a lift, and it was just chaotic, like, and going in to tell the family, look, I'm going to Italy the next day, and I went for the experiences on the pitch, half time before the game, getting a kick about, getting to train with them, training sessions beforehand. But what an experience, just absolutely incredible. Yeah. You mentioned Duffy, and Duffy had done a lot for you in your career, but one of the quotes, it could be absolute nonsense to be honest, but on Wikipedia Jim Duffy was quoted as saying, I know we were in short terms as squad players, but if a player makes it clear he doesn't want to be part of the club, it's best we'll let him go. Yeah. What was the story there? So probably strong words in that sense. I was going through a few issues and personal issues at the time. The club were aware, and the manager was aware. Probably on both sides could have dealt with things better in terms of probably more help. You probably get more help now than what you did back then. People were able to open up now than kind of back then, and we had issues, off-field issues I had, and I could remember that meeting that we did have, and it was amicable. I think now when I look back, I was still young. I was in that meeting myself, and sometimes you need that bit of guidance and help in these situations. And I feel now that I'm older and wiser, did I get that 100%? I don't know. But there's no hard feelings there. I've got no issues with the club or with Jim Duffy or anybody. Actually, really thankful that he gave me my opportunity in the first team. We've crossed paths after that. He's managed clubs and on kind of radio and stuff. He's been really complimentary, and certainly when we've played against him and I've been in the opposition team, he's been the same. So there's definitely no hard feelings there. You're a manager of a football club, you've got to do what's best for the club at that time, and that's probably where we were at that moment.
Then the first move of your career was down to the old third division with Peterhead, and
Yeah.
it's quite a big drop from Dundee down to there. Was there any chance to go in between, or do you think that was just your best chance of getting regular?
There was. I was in at St Johnstone for a week, and I was in at St Mirren for a week, and they didn't quite work out for the trials. And I knew Paul Mathers and Robbie Rayside, who were up at Peterhead at the time. And I thought, yeah, that's where I'll go and just go and enjoy football again. So that's the Peterhead's an interesting one, because within 2 weeks I was back playing football again. And when I look at it, football was always something that I wanted to do. I just felt I had probably issues. The age that I was at in the Dundee team, I think it was a lot to deal with. Everybody deals with things differently. My life kind of changed overnight in that sense at Dundee, being local. And I certainly felt the pressure, but I feel at Peterhead it kind of just took the pressure off. And I feel like I really enjoyed my time up there. I feel I done really well for the club, and they obviously gave me the opportunity to kind of get going again. Albeit it was part-time, and I felt at that time it just kind of worked for me. So it was a club I've got fond memories at as well. I was up there, obviously, just before Christmas and scored a hat-trick against them.
Yeah.
And a few of them could remember me, so it was nice. It was a good club.
I noticed though that you finished runners-up that year you were there, and
yeah,
you had 78 points, which I looked at because I thought it was quite high. You would have been champions 12 out of the 19 seasons that followed, but it's because of that Gretna team that got close to 100 points. What like were they?
Yes, Gretna were like the Harlem Globetrotters of the league, but we kept up with them. We gave them some right good games. I could remember we won. We were second in League Two, and then we were so close to going up the next season with them. We actually got beaten in the playoff final from Partick Thistle. Dick Campbell's team, ironically, beat us. Paul Ritchie scored the winning penalty. That's a old damn. So, but that we went up from League Two, and then could have went up again with Gretna the year after. So I think, like, when you look back at that, it was such a big achievement, because I feel like the lower leagues now compared to then is night and day. Like, you had some big names, big experienced guys in the lower leagues back then. The teams, Wraiths, Mortons, Gretnas, Partick Thistles, they were all lingering about League One, League Two, and it was a really strong period in the lower leagues then, I felt.
Yeah, that was close to back-to-back promotions, like you said, and then obviously you had a bit of time with Morton as well. So were you really enjoying, playing at that level and knowing that obviously you were a regular scorer and started at that level as well?
Yeah, I think, as you say, I think the pressure was off. I was playing, the guys looked after me, I was playing with friends, I was playing with guys that knew me, that knew how to get the best out of me. And then ultimately I got a move to Morton, where really still probably feel disappointed in that one, because I felt I had so much more to offer. But I think my problem was going into a Morton team that were just so successful. Like, that team had won the League Two, they were into League One. I went mid-season, we'd won the league there, and then we went into the Championship, and I just couldn't kind of get into that team. That was a team that had been together for 3 to 5 years, so they were all familiar with each other, and I just felt I struggled to break in there. And quickly learned that I missed home. I felt like I didn't get enough kind of game time that suited me, and I thought, I'm going to try and get back closer to home and get playing again, because that was the main focus for me.
I noticed that team at Morton, you had Chris Templeman and Brian Graham up front. Did that just make your life so much easier as a winger, having two guys like that in the box?
Well, Brian Graham actually played on the left-hand side at times, and on the right, and he was a young lad coming through. There was more established players than Brian. Like, Paul McGowan was our striker. We had such a strong team, like Jamie Stevens, Chris Miller, Jim McAllister, Peter Weatherson. It was a really strong side. And when I first went in, Derek Lilly was there as well. So I joined a strong team. I was under no illusions, but again, probably at that time, I probably could have stayed where I was, being part-time. But really enjoyed being there. And then after that, we'd agreed a deal. I'd went on loan to East Fife, closer to home. That's like Dave Bakey was there, Dougie Cameron, Jonathan Smart, guys I played with. And then I'd went on loan there, and then eventually made that permanent there.
You won the third division the first season, didn't you?
I think we won that comfortably as well. We had a good side then, Paul McManus up front. Chris Templeman ended up following on. Kevin Fowler, we had some right good players in that team, and I felt like I got back enjoying it again. I actually remember my first game for Eastford, I came on and I'd scored, and I just kind of got that buzz back of playing football again. It's difficult when I'm from Dundee. I was in Greenock a lot most weeks, and you're not playing as much as you'd like. So it was just to get back scoring again and enjoying the game, and that's certainly what happened to East Fife. And we won a league there. We were really successful, to be honest. There.
Yeah, and then you had that wee cup run as well. I noticed you got knocked out eventually by the winners Killy in the League Cup, didn't you?
Yeah, we went up. I actually captained the team up at Aberdeen. Really famous night for the club. We beat them on penalties. It was just an incredible game. Should have finished 3-3 in that game, and I missed the penalty. The keeper saved my penalty, but again, I always miss penalties. So there's nothing new there. So
it was you obviously seemed like you enjoyed yourself at East Fife, and then you stayed in Fife after that with Ballingry, I believe was that shortly after. Again, there was familiar faces there, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a few familiar faces there. I'd had the opportunity to go full time to a few clubs and stupidly picked that one. We all kind of just went with that one. And then at Christmas time, Paul Sheeran is coming, and then we'd agreed that I was going to go to Arbroath in the summer.
And was that kind of what ended the move then? Or was it? Did you see the money kind of side of things crumbling from an early position?
Yeah, there was kind of things happening in that sense. I don't want to say too much because it's an interview, so I need to be sensible with stuff. You need to be careful, but it was just a move where I probably I shouldn't have done that move at the time. But what I feel though from that move was that when I did go into Arbroath in the summertime, we tried to actually make the move permanent. We tried to do it at Christmas time, and Paul, the club had rejected it, and Paul Sheeran had tried to make it happen, and he didn't. And so we went in the summer, and that's when I kick-started with Arbroath, the sound with like Sir Ricky Little, same day. And I feel that move that I had before Arbroath was the one that really kicked me on. Like, I think I was 27 when I joined Arbroath, and I felt like I'd kind of messed around for a year. I really missed football, so when I went to Arbroath, I really did. From then, kind of the mentality changed, and a lot went into it, and kind of thought, right, you need to appreciate your football. Do you know what I mean? At 27, you think they maybe not got long left, but what happened after that is just history. It's just complete history, I feel.
Yeah, what changed in the first 3 years at Arbroath? And the rest of your time there, because obviously the first season you were relegated from League One, and then you were 9th in League Two, I think, one of the years. It was close to being sort of out the league altogether.
When I went into Arbroath, they'd also just won a league with Paul Sheeran. They had a right good side, I believe. So we went in, and it was we were the new batch of players from a team that kind of was decimated with transfers and getting moves because they'd done so well. So it was really difficult. We went in the first season and we ended up getting relegated. And I always remember thinking, what the Arbroath fans thinking, this wee guy for East Fife that used to give me pelters at the side was coming and relegated our club. And I felt we were really hard done by that year. We had a good side that year. I just felt like to be relegated, when I look back, I think, how did we manage that? But again, just such a strong league, I think, at that time.
I had a look at the squad. Paul McManus was there, Lee Ehrman was there, Stephen Doris and Hammy. And
Teddy, Ross Chisholm, we had a good side. Graham Bain, Stephen Milne, we had a good side. Paul Sheeran played in that team. So, yeah, and then Paul was the reason that I wanted to play there. I wanted to stay. I says to him that I wanted to stay there. And so I signed a 2-year deal at January time because a certain Richard Campbell come in for me at Forfar, which I rejected and wanted to stay with Paul. And then Paul, at the end of the season, went to Aberdeen. We got relegated and Paul went to Aberdeen. Paul and Stuart Peaty left the club as well, and then that's where Alan Moore came in. And then you shoot back up the league, you do really well up until Christmas. and then you just totally capitulate, and we lost on the last day, at the last minute, last second at Hampden against Queen's Park in the playoff game, and we then lost that. And I'm sure we go into the next season. Alan Moore was gone. We went into the next season with Todd Lumsden and Stephen Hislop, and yeah, we really struggled that season. Personally, did well. Felt we scored a few goals. I think I won PFA Player of the Year that season. We finished second bottom. I think we finished. They got sacked, I think, 3/4 into the season, and then that's when Dick had come in, and we managed to stay up. I think it was by 9 points or something like that. East Stirling went down, so it just shows you how close. Because East Stirling have not come back up.
They struggled.
So that was a really close season. Like, we beat them the 3 times, which essentially kept us up. But I think when that happened, and then the manager come in, Dick, then he was in that summertime. I could always remember we were at Elgin away and we'd got beat 4-1. I just think he just had enough of that squad, and he's like, look, thanks for your efforts, but we'll be in touch, don't call us, type thing. And then that summertime, that was a massive squad overhaul. I've never seen anything like it. So many quality players coming in: Stephen Doris, Martin Scott, Ryan McCord, Colin Hamilton, a couple of the guys from Forfar, Omar Kader and Gavin Mallon. He kept adding to the squad, and we essentially won the league on the last day. 4 days later, you're in Magaluf with a gaffer and everybody, and you've won a league, and it was just incredible, absolutely incredible.
There's 2 league titles in 3 years, wasn't there, to get up to the championship?
Well, what actually happened was we'd won the first one, and that went right down. I could always remember, and I think it's probably quoted somewhere from the manager. We played Forfar, and Forfar went, I think it was 11 ahead of us, or 13. I think it was the start of March. And we got beat 1-0 from them. And I always remember coming in saying, we will fight for every point here, and we'll see where this takes us, but this is not over. We get down to the last day of the season. We had to go to Stirling Albion. They were at home to Annan. They had to win. We had to win or draw. They just couldn't get beat. And I can remember going to take a corner, and the camera guy that travelled with us for so many years, Graham Black, told me it was 3-0 Annan. I couldn't believe it, because they were due to play Annan, I think, 3 days later in the playoff. It was just such a weird day, like, and I think Annan had rested boys and things like that, and then essentially we went 1-0 up. We actually missed a penalty as well. It goes to 1-1. We then hear it's 4-2 Annan, and then we won the league because of we drew, and Annan had beat Forfar. It was, and the helicopter changed direction. It come up to Stirling that day. It just happened so fast. And as I say, we went up to training the Monday and gave the passport details. Next minute we're in Magaluf as a team, and the management were there, and just great memories. And then the next season, I'm sure we then go into the league, in a tricky league, and we get to the playoffs, but Dumbarton beat us, if I'm right. I think, yeah, we got beat from Dumbarton. They beat us 2-1 at home, and I think it was 2-1 away as well. So we could have went up back to back. And it was after that season I felt the manager, he brought in Jason Thomson and Darren Jameson, and I felt that strengthened the team, because it was kind of where we needed to strengthen. And then we absolutely ran away with that one. We from day one, like, we went up to Montrose. I could remember that. It was a really big day for them, because it was a flag day, and we beat them 4-0, and I felt that just set the tone for the season. Personally, it was another accolade, getting PFA Player of the Year, so it was really nice to get my second one at Arbroath that season as well. It was probably my best season to date as well.
I think that was 18-19. I've got that down as your best scoring season. That was 21 in the league.
That was,
so apparently only Kevin
right.
Nisbet managed more than that in that season.
Yeah, that's right. And he's a striker, so I'm taking the lead on that one.
Well, that was obviously right up until before COVID. Did COVID kind of throw you off a bit, because that was... So I felt, we went into the championship. I can remember we played at home. I think we got beat at home. And then we went up to Inverness. I scored the first goal in the championship. We got beat 2-1, albeit. Then we went down to Alloa the week after. I scored the winner there. And then we kicked on. I remember we were beating Dunfermline. We went through to Partick. We beat them.
we started to beat teams. We went on an 8-game run, I'm sure it was, and just up until COVID hit, I think we were sitting 5th in the league, albeit teams like Dundee and that had games in hand, and the league got cut short. So COVID kind of hit, but I feel probably that season and the season you finished second were I think every season was successful, but the rest I feel you were definitely scrapping down the bottom to try and stay in the league. And for us, the biggest one for me was the COVID season with no supporters. It was really surreal playing in that, but for us to manage to stay in the league right up until the last day, I think that was a massive achievement for the club. We had Dundee United, Hearts, all in the league, and we managed to stay in it. And I think that's where Dick really kind of praises everybody at the club, because we managed to do it for 5 years. He was massive on taking it from Alloa, who I think were maybe 2 years or 3. Mm-hmm. But he was like, I want to be the best part-time club in this country, and the will to win and the hunger and desire he showed, even at the age that he's at, I've never seen anything like it. And I believe he's a big part of that as well.
Because you were 1 point above a relegation playoff, and obviously the following season was the year that you nearly pulled off the unthinkable.
You were essentially 10 minutes away from absolute just immortality. It was that close. I spoke to a guy doing a podcast with it, and it was kind of like when you're sitting talking, and the reality of they actually put us in porta cabins that night. I just feel so the psychological, a team like Kilmarnock, with a team like Arbroath, we were working that day, and had to come up and travel and get put in a porta cabins and just feel it makes you smile. It's football, and that's, you had to try and get the extra edge, and to go into a full stadium down there, we'd already beat them there, and I think we gave a few clubs a wee scare while we were time in the championship, and that night was a real sore one, because I feel even a draw might have just been enough, because they had to go up to Raith and we were at home to Morton. So I think it's a case of what could have been with that, but great to be part of. Really proud of my time at Arbroath, but not just that season. I feel there's so many highlights at the club, but I think on top of that, the year that I left, and I'd made it common knowledge that I was going to be going, and finishing the last game, we drew 0-0 with Hamilton, but we managed to stay up. I started that game, I kind of got a clap off afterwards, and I'll just never forget that. That
Kelly game, am I right in thinking you didn't start that game?
I didn't even get on that game.
No.
I didn't even get on that game. I'll not tell you what I says to the gaffer after that. Because you always feel as if you can definitely change something, but again, I think it was more a case of don't lose the game. Do you know what I mean? Just don't lose the game type thing. And we actually ended up we were 1-0 up. Mm-hmm. We were essentially winning the game, but then when it goes to 1-1, it's one of them. Me as a player, I'm not really seeing me coming on at a 1-0 when you're maybe saying we'll get them back. We'll get it back to Gayfield next week, but then they score in the 94th minute or whatever it was. So really disappointing, but there's a bigger picture there, and as I say, it was great to be part of. Everybody played their part that season.
Yeah, and when it came to the Inverness games and the playoffs, had the bubble just kind of burst by then, or?
Oh, I'd actually forgot about that until you mentioned that there. I thought we were bypassing that one. When I look at the Inverness one, I actually feel we went up there and the next week we beat Morton 3-0 at home. He changed a lot of players and we won 3-0 at home. We were still playing all right. We were still full of confidence. We went up to Inverness. I felt we should have won that game. But the home game, I just feel like after a long slog season, I just felt it was a game too far for us. We got caught up. We didn't really play our game. They went down to 9 men. We missed chances. We've hit posts in the last minute, and then essentially it was me that misses the penalty. And I didn't really feel confident. I've watched the penalty back a few times. Unlike me to go that way, but I did go that way, and I believe that's just kind of what pressure does. And at that moment, that's where I chose to go, and Ridgers just guessed right and saved it. But that was a real sore one, Kane. That was a real sore one.
That's probably when the part-time comes into it as well, though, doesn't it? With games like that, and after a long season as well.
Yeah, I think it was mentally a long season. I just feel when you're not scoring in the time that you've got the chance and it goes to penalties, you just feel, is it against you? Is your luck out? The way of just what happened 2 weeks before, and probably an error of doubt coming in, and then the pressure of taking the penalties. But as I say, ultimately we ended up losing that, and it's a shame because I feel after that it was just a case of we left the stadium that night, and that season was done. It's never really been spoke about. We've never had a meet up. We've never kind of done anything to how would you celebrate finishing second. But I feel as a club, you probably do something to remember it, or even with the manager and the players. But maybe in the future that might happen. But it was a case of going away and coming back and trying to get going again. And I feel it really knocked us. And what it did was it changed the whole remit for us. I think people then went, well, Arbroath will win the league next year, and it was like, couldn't be further from the truth. It's still part-time team. It was still really difficult. We knew how tough and grueling that season was, and I think we did suffer from that season.
I remember, even obviously growing up in Brecon and being a Brecon fan, that I watched that game on the Friday night against Killie, and I was rooting for you guys, even though obviously it's like your fierce rivals, I suppose, in a way, but you're still wanting them to go up. And just,
I think like everyone jumped on board with that. I mean, we were getting crowds of 5,000 at Gayfield. I remember we were getting crowds of 300, 400. You're getting 5,000 United, Dundee fans, they all jumped on it. Everybody was jumping on it. And I could see why. But again, we just come up short. We had to go to Kilmarnock and win. And I actually feel that wasn't the night that lost us. That we dropped silly points from Christmas onwards. And that was where it essentially caught us out. But as I say, really fond memories of that season. It was great to be part of.
I was going to ask what the plans are post Lochee United, but when we went to the night you had in Arbroath, you were hinting towards the guys to try and sign you up. What's the story for next season?
Yeah, that's something that we're having a wee laugh about between ourselves. I've actually been back over Christmas when we got a couple of weeks off. We've been an ambassador at the club, and obviously been inducted into the Hall of Fame. I've been doing a bit around the club, like I do some media stuff for them on the telly. I'll go in to do games on the commentary, or I'll go and do some games and go into the boardroom and then speak in the hospitality and stuff afterwards. So going back in a different capacity is something I've really enjoyed. So that night we'd had a few drinks. There was no pressure with that. It was just a bit of fun, caught in the moment. But at the moment I'm actually enjoying playing, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Further plans post Lochee United, is there anything about maybe getting in the dugout yourself? Or?
Yeah, I would say so. It's something that I'm definitely looking towards. I'm really passionate about football, so it's something that I feel I would like to try and test myself. But as I say, I think what will be, and what's in front of you won't pass you. And at the moment, I'm enjoying playing, and the focus is to get back fit. Being injured has realised how much I do enjoy playing. So another few years playing, we'll see where I'm at. But coaching, management is something that I certainly will be getting into at some point.
Who scored more goals, Bobby Linn in Scottish football or Fabrizio Ravanelli in Italian football?
I'm going to go for Bobby Linn in Scottish football.
Apparently 119 it's got online and 105 for Ravanelli.
Is that right?
Supposedly, so yeah, Bobby Linn's the answer.
There's got to be, I'm not sure, I think there's more than 119. I'm positive there's more, I could be wrong.
What about the best player you've ever played with?
It's Ravanelli, without doubt.
What was he like in training that? Was it like just a different species?
Do you know what? But somebody that I'll always remember, he was great with the young boys. I remember they went into administration, and the way he come in and looked after the boys, and he was kind of offering these apologies to the guys that have kind of losing their livelihoods, whereas he's had a career. He was just so humble. I always remember we trained down at Fairfield, the old St Joseph's pitch. We played a practice match, so we take the bus down, we all come down, and he must have thought, where the fuck am I training here? And because if you've been there, it's not the most pleasing on the eye. And he's so we do two teams practice match, and we had one goalkeeper and we had a player in the goal. It was a shambles at Dundee back then. We didn't have enough players in goal, his administration. So he took kick-off. I always remember he took kick-off. The player passed the ball to him. He took a touch and scored for the halfway line. He chipped the goalie. Obviously, the boy who was in the goal was one of our midfielders, Neil Jablonski, who must have been messing about off his line, and Ravanelli chips him, and everybody just stopped and clapped. That's one that sticks out to me.
Just surreal.
Just incredible, because it was a guy that I grew up watching, like from Middlesbrough. And you remember the celebration? Everybody knows Ravanelli. He actually scored a hat-trick against Clyde. I can remember jumping on his back, and it was in the back of the tilly, and my family and my brother and my mum were like, unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Ravanelli. But he was great. He was a really nice guy, and always used to take us out training in the afternoon. Just really humble.
Yeah.
And I actually reached out to him in regards to the testimonial that I had a few years back on Instagram, and he actually got back to me. We actually had a chat, so it's one that I let people know that we're still good pals. We're tight, as I would say.
I can just kind of picture him cutting about Dundee. It is mental to think. Like, did he go to the pub in that? Or?
Looking back, honestly couldn't tell you. I know that they were staying in hotels and whatnot, but at the stadium, he was actually brand new with the kids. You think at that age that he'd maybe be there for the money and no time, but I felt he went above and beyond for people at the club, mate.
Yeah. What about the best player you played against?
Best player I played against for me would be Henrik Larsson. I was actually sending Dougie Cameron some videos the other day of goals we played in, where we set up goals against Celtic at Celtic Park and at Dens, and Larsson he'd scored in the games. So for me, I'm a big Celtic fan. Absolutely dreamed to play against him. My first game, I was at Celtic Park. I come on as a sub. I managed to get Petrov's top, which I thought was really nice of him. Mm-hmm. So a lot of fun memories, but I would say Henrik Larsson for sure. What about your
favourite and least favourite away days?
Favourite away day was, I would have to say Celtic Park. I loved going to Celtic Park. It's just a different world. Like, from when you enter the ground to running out the tunnel to being in the stadium playing. For me, it would certainly be Celtic Park. And least would probably be First Park. East Stirling's old ground was the coldest floor ever. There was no heating, there was no water, the showers were broke, just a tiny dressing room. It was just, I think that's knocked down now and it's like an Asda or something, but a big wall behind the goal. I just don't know how they managed to get away with that for so long.
If you could have played under any football manager, who would it have been?
Sir Alex Ferguson. Great with youngsters, you see. Changed, had to adapt over decades. If you look at the players he managed from 80s right upwards, and that's going back to his Aberdeen days, I just feel like he changed with the times and adapted, and for me, the best manager that's ever been.
What about your football hero growing up?
Football hero growing up would have been, you think about that one now, I was a massive fan of Paolo Di Canio when I was young. I just thought that when I was growing up, I just thought the boots, he'd wear the different coloured boots, the green and the white, the collar would be up, the goals, the class. I just thought I have fond memories. I watched Celtic a lot when I was a young kid, and I would probably need to say Paolo Di Canio, yeah.
What about your go-to boozer in Dundee?
I'm not sure I could say this. Maybe a few of the heavies coming looking after me now. I would probably say the go-to would be the Gaiety Bar in Charleston, in the heart of Charleston, the Gaiety Bar.
I don't know if I should check that one out or not.
No, don't.
And finally, with your life on the line, which former teammate would you have taken a penalty to save you?
Ooh. It's a good question, that one. That is a good question. Michael McKenna. Easy, Michael McKenna.
Yeah, Arbroath?
Yes, Arbroath, Michael McKenna.
Bobby Linn, Bobby Linn. He gets on my tits.